So we'll first just jump in. This is something that I really want to know. You know, we hear that you were a handstand coach before that you started in cybersecurity. Could you tell us a little bit about what you were doing before?
Yeah, so before I was doing any cybersecurity, I was coaching handstands, partner acrobatics. I was teaching other calisthenics skill movements to people out of a small warehouse gym. And yeah, that's what I did. It was great.
And so what made you want to go into cybersecurity? Because it's such a different path than what you were doing before.
Getting to the path of from handstand to cybersecurity, there was a lot of things that happened in between there, but I personally learned a ton about myself from training handstands and teaching handstands. And one of the things I learned, which was great, and it kind of goes towards any field or skill that you want to learn, whether that's a handstand or cybersecurity skills. The only difference between, can you handstand for an example, Colleen? Can you hold
I
a handstand?
actually I
You
actually
can?
can. I
Good.
can.
How long? How long can you hold it for?
Oh my gosh. I mean, not long at all. I can do a straight handstand and then I come back down, but I
Okay.
can't do it
Okay.
long.
Okay. So you can get up.
But I pride myself in
All
that.
right. So I'm not bragging on anything, but I could do a
Oh no,
handstand for
please.
probably like a minute. Okay. And the
Wow.
only difference between you and me, if we looked at, where we are in our handstand journey, is just going to be time. So I've probably put in more hours
Hmm.
training and learning and towards that skill. And so that's what's kind of helped me develop that skill. And so I learned that the only difference between me and a cybersecurity professional or a coding professional or something is just the time that they've put into the skill. So that was an advantage to me, and that really helped me kind of focus. And I knew that if I put in the time, I would eventually develop the skill. Um, I have, I'm very good at self-learning, and I learn visually, so I can watch videos and kind of follow those things. My issue is I get um, a bit obsessive onto something, and I start focusing, and I have to figure out if I have a problem, I got to work on it until, I'll be up till 3 a.m. if I don't get it figured out, and I will lose sleep the first thing in the morning. I'll think about it. And so that kind of thing, I was starting some like Udemy courses and learning a little bit of coding, but I didn't have the structure and the focus that I needed to like really complete any of those. I don't know if anybody ever completes a Udemy course. Everybody starts
Hmm.
them, you jump around. And so I was looking for programs that that fit within the amount of time that I felt like I could give to it. And so I kind of canceled out like another 4-year degree or a 2-year plan. And luckily I came across, a cybersecurity boot camp like Evolve that gave me the structure I needed to like stay focused and to learn all the things I need to learn and not just get stuck. I deep dive into this one area, and now half my day's gone and I didn't improve my skills in the ways that I needed to. So I think that's kind of the transition there. And then the reason or the ability for me to start looking and doing that transition was I joined the boot camp during the pandemic. So running your own business was very challenged. We had a lot of uncertainty at that time, and we had to close our doors for a short period of time and then reduce the amount of people that we could see and work with. So it ended up giving me a ton of time to really focus and look at a different kind of area of interest. And so when I had the extra time and I found Evolve, it just made sense, and I dove in.
That's awesome. And I love what you said about the time, because I have this philosophy that if you practice enough, like you can do anything really. So I think, and that applies to cybersecurity as well. Um, and
There's,
so, I mean, I'm glad that you pursued it.
yeah, me too. Me too. There's a great book by Malcolm Gladwell called Outliers
Mm,
that I always recommend. And it talks about that. It's about the things that we think, when people become masters of their skill, that they're just super overly talented, but you don't see all the amount of hours that they put in to get to that, 10,000
mm,
hours mastery. And it's really motivating because you can really, as long as you put in the time, you can develop any skills.
definitely. I'll have to check that book out. Um, and so once you transitioned into cybersecurity, what job did you start doing? Is it the job that you have now? What is your job title? What does that kind of career path within cybersecurity look like for you?
So currently I'm a technical account manager for a cybersecurity company called CyberMax. And we help defend against cyber threats for different businesses by offering a number of managed solutions and also offensive audit solutions as well. So we do a little bit of proactive and reactive security solutions for companies. My first role with the company was as a SOC analyst. So that's a security operations analyst. And we count that as kind of an entry level role into cybersecurity, but you get to learn so much about all the different systems, the different types of events, things that you're looking for in a system. And I really got to learn the inner workings of our security operations center, how our teams work. And from there, I ended up getting promoted to the customer success team, which is where I am now. And I get to really help with the delivery of our services and that kind of experience from start to finish.
What does your day-to-day look like now? A little bit more detail. You said that you do the delivery side, but what does a typical day in the life of Dustin look like?
So when you provide managed services for a customer, there is a huge amount of coordination and organization between your company's teams, their company's teams, the right different technical teams that need to work on different projects that are going on. So whether we're implementing our services and we're working on getting their ticketing system set up, I'm going to rope in the right amount of people on our side. Maybe it's our development team, some engineers, so that we can work and get that working as it should. And so that services are up to par. So a lot of my day, I'm either in kind of group meetings that I'm pulling together to work towards a common project or task that's going on for one of our customers. I also provide support for our sales engineers. So if we're doing a technical scoping call for a potential new customer, and we want to make sure that there's the right tech fit and that we're on the same page as far as our solution with what their needs are, I'll help and jump in and support that. And then I also kind of stay with the customer journey. Once they've already got our services, it's running, I'm checking in with them, I'm doing health checks, I'm providing threat briefings. So I'm really just managing the entire delivery of our service and getting all the right people coordinated to respond effectively when we need to.
That's just so cool to hear where you started as a handstand coach, and now you're able to talk about all of these cybersecurity delivery things that you're doing every day. I mean, it just really goes to show that the transition is possible. And so in this transition to cybersecurity, what would you say are some of the most important components of your transition to make it successful? Like if you're talking to someone who's looking into getting into cybersecurity, what would you say is, some advice for them that you experienced for getting into this industry?
So I think one of the things that really helped me was I was able to commit a good amount of time to it. And I think that that's just, upfront, that what we talked about with time, you're going to have to put in the hours. And, depending on how you schedule that, if me and you were learning a new skill and you put in an hour a day and I put in 2 hours a day, at the end of a month, I have twice the amount of experience, than you in that. So you can accelerate quickly by adding more time. But I would say the other thing that super helped me is because I will put in all the time, but I could put it in the wrong direction, right? I can get distracted easily. And so that's where I think Evolve or Bootcamp, is structured to keep you kind of learning all the facets of cybersecurity that you need to know, the basics, the fundamentals, even the not so fun stuff that you really need to dive into and understand at a good level. That's where, that focus really helped. And it got me around, real cybersecurity professionals. So there's a difference, there's a little bit of a gap too between, knowing something, but then knowing what that looks like in a productive environment, right? And there's a few little gaps there. You know a little bit, but you haven't used it in a full production environment where things are the same but a little different. So you have to kind of figure that out.
Great advice. And for anyone in the audience, if you have any questions, feel free to put those in the Q&A box. We're more than happy to answer anything you have. And so Dustin, I'm sure that there's a lot of challenges that you went through during your transition of trying to get into cybersecurity, whether you're still like learning now and trying to keep up with your skills. What would you say some challenges are that people trying to get into the industry could expect, and how do you recommend that they battle those challenges?
To learn a new skill, everybody has to suck a little bit. Okay, you have to be able to do that, and that's hard sometimes. You don't want to start at the bottom of the rung and feel dumb or like you don't know anything. So I think that's the biggest hurdle, and just to know that we all at some point felt that way, and you just keep going and you keep repeating the steps and keep going over the process. Eventually, it'll start making more and more sense. I remember things in the beginning, concepts I had no idea, and then I would learn other concepts, down the stream, and then it would make that one, later on I'd come back around and be like, oh, that's what that was saying, or that's what that meant. That's what that does, kind of a thing. And so you got to stick with it, and you got to be willing to start to humble yourself a little bit and start you're starting a new field. So I think that's the biggest challenge, and to just constantly be curious. I love to learn, and I think that's another thing that brought me to cybersecurity is I'll never know enough. I every day I'm learning from the people around me, from the different adjustments and different things that are happening, and I'm just constantly learning, and I love that. So that keeps me excited, and I'm not bored for sure.
Yeah, we always say people getting into cybersecurity need to have the aptitude and the attitude to do it. And that's definitely the attitude that you have. So, but we do have a question for you that just came in. This person says, hi, Dustin, what are some challenges you think would be there for those who have no experience in coding? Can you get into cybersecurity with no or less knowledge about coding?
I think all the skills that if you like a certain skill, if you don't coding doesn't mix with you, that's okay. Like you can develop other skills. And in my current role now, like I don't do any coding. I could create some scripts that might make my life easier when I'm trying to do something, but it's not necessarily, a need for me to be able to code to do my job right now. So just knowing about the services and what they do, and having an understanding, just a general understanding of all those things, because they all flow together, will help. But it's definitely not, you don't have to be a coder to get into cybersecurity, not at all.
And you mentioned that you're learning all the time on the job. I think so many people are. And sometimes it can feel overwhelming of like, you feel like you don't know everything. This is a question coming from me. Like, how would you recommend dealing with imposter syndrome? First of all, do you? And then, because I know a lot of people try to get in this field and they don't really, they experience imposter syndrome. And I think even not in this field, so many people do. Do you have any tips on how to deal with that? And if you've never experienced it, then kudos to you.
No. I definitely, I feel like every other day in my job, I'm either winning and I'm like, man, we did a good job today. We delivered. And then the next day I'm like, I know nothing. I'm terrible. But I think the key though, that really helps pull you out of that is it's not about me, right? It's really not. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's about our customer, and I'm delivering a service, and I'm going to try to do my best. And that's all I can do is offer my best. So if I'm going to the right, avenues, I'm getting the right people, I'm asking the right questions, then I'm doing my job. I don't have to know everything. And honestly, I don't know near as much as all my teams do, but knowing what each of them knows and their expertise, I can pull all those together if I need to go that route. So I would say, trying to take yourself out of it a little bit and just look that you're trying to provide a good service for somebody.
Like kind of take a step back.
Yeah,
I like that. And so we had another question come in. How well do you need to know Linux and also networking to be able to do an entry-level cybersecurity job?
I would say the more the merrier, the more it helps. I personally just love Linux, and we use a lot of Linux on our servers, our front end stuff. So I was really comfortable with that coming in. And I think networking is super cool, and it's the base foundation for how everything works on the internet. So I think, starting a foundation in networking and really, training that way, if you need to, go for a networking certification because that keeps you focused and on the path, then I think that's a great route. And those are two really good things to have a good basic starting point in, and that'll help. That'll only help.
So you talk about, I mean, you've mentioned so many different things that you do, so many different aspects of your job. What would you say is your favorite part about your job, or your favorite part about the industry in general?
So I think being somebody who enjoys learning, I I get to work with like wizards every day, which is awesome. Like I work with like technical wizards, I swear. I get to be in some really awesome meetings and where we're investigating things, and I am learning so much from everybody. And I just love that because it keeps me on my toes. It keeps pushing me. I want to learn more so I can hang with the cool guys, with the tech guys, with the other guys. So yeah, I want to be on that level. And so I think that's what I really love about it. It's just the constant, learning and knowledge, and you're always, trying to figure something out.
Definitely. I feel like, cybersecurity is like a different language. You're just trying to figure out how to connect with people that know this in their experience. And I mean, I joined the industry like a couple of years ago, and I'm learning so much just about the vocabulary and the language all the time. So I can relate to you in that sense.
I
Uh,
pronounced a lot of terms wrong,
yes.
probably in front of very super tech savvy people. They probably heard me mispronounce something more than once, and they were probably like, oh, anyway, it
I'm
happens.
sure many of us have.
Okay.
We have another question come in. So, which certifications did you initially get, and do you think they helped you get your first cybersecurity job? So, like, how important do you think certifications are?
So I got the CompTIA Security Plus during the boot camp. I think I completed it before I finished. And to me, like starting out in a new field, I think it was kind of it's a standard test, but it gave me the confidence to know that I can do it, that I
Mhm.
can fit in. If I pass this test within their field, it's like the first one. I've taken tests in exercise physiology and all that. I can pass those, but to go into another person's field and to pass a certification, I think it's a good motivator, and I think it helps keep you focused for learning and your continued learning. So I did that one, and then I really enjoyed cloud, so I did AWS Cloud Practitioner, and I'm working towards like the solutions architect and maybe the sysadmin ops or something like that, because I really enjoy cloud as well. Knowing what I know now, I did do a heavy amount of studying and networking, and I think that getting your network plus would be number one to at least get you started in the realm.
So, do you have tips for people in the job search stage? So, you've done the boot camp, you have your skills, but the job search is something that is extremely intimidating. It's a lot of work. Do you have any advice and tips for people who are currently going through that job search stage?
Yeah, I mean the main advice is keep going. And I played the numbers game. So I applied to as many places as I could. And for every 100 to 150 applications I put out, I'd get 3 or 4 interviews. And so that was kind of my numbers. So I was really trying to get them out as much as possible. I think helping like the career coach during Evolve was super beneficial in, I think, getting me those interviews and getting my resume up to par. So I think my resume probably looked a little better than what I was, and got me some interviews. It got me some bad interviews in the beginning, which you have to go through and figure out. But I think, get a lot of help for your resume, because that's going to be the thing that gets you through to at least the interviews. And then once you're in the interviews, it's just about the knowledge and stuff that you're working on, and, answering some technical questions that are honestly pretty basic. They could be intimidating because it's a new field and, you don't know what they're going to ask, but just keep it simple and answer what you know, and keep rolling.
Great advice. And we had someone just ask a question. So they're in their mid-career switch to cybersecurity, and this person's saying that they need to work a full-time job to support yourself, and they're not sure if the boot camp is an option for them. Before we jump into the question there, I am going to say that so many of our students work full-time jobs. That's why we do the boot camp at night. So it's Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time, and then every other Saturday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. and it's all virtual. So there's so many people that are able to do their full-time jobs and then, go to the boot camp at night. But, to wrap this up, we have a few more minutes here. Do you have any final advice any final words of wisdom that you want to leave our audience with about either working in the cybersecurity industry currently, or your transition, the job search, anything?
Just that, cybersecurity is a great field. We need tons of more professionals. There's a huge gap, and it's part of the reason why, my company does such a good job is we help manage, shortfalls within businesses that don't have the staff to do the things right now. So it's always going to be growing right now, and the only thing that's stopping you is jumping in and learning. It's right there for you. You don't have to wait. It's not like a medical degree where you need facilities and patients to practice on. Like, your tech is here. If you have a laptop, like, you can learn anything you want.
It's at your fingertips.
That's right.
One more question that we just had come in really quickly. Any tips on what to put on your LinkedIn profile when you're going through the learning phase? We have a lot of people in the boot camp who are practicing, and people not even in the boot camp. What do you recommend the skills that they put on their LinkedIn?
I mean, anything that you work on, any labs that you're going on, just get like an overall, general topic for that and throw it on there as a skill. I'm learning Linux. I'm learning, networking, whatever skills like that are good to put on there. And then the other thing I did that really helped with LinkedIn was reach out to people in the field that, have the job title that you're going after. And I reached out to a ton of people networking wise. Like, I didn't know anybody at my company that helped get me in, but what really helped me was talking to some people, professionals that already did the job, and learning like this, what their day-to-day was. And they're always, I love everybody in this field. They're always so helpful and willing to give their time like that, and they'll give back. And I'll do the same as well, if anybody wants to hit me up on LinkedIn. But so that was really beneficial, and that gave me an idea. I talked to some people in the field, in the, doing the skills that I would need to be doing. So it gave me a lot of confidence going into interviews, that I knew what the role was and what it meant.
Yeah, that's great. I've learned that from being around so many cybersecurity professionals, that everyone's willing to help and wants to help. Other than that, Dustin, thank you so much for your time. I've learned so much, and I'm sure our audience has too. It's been a pleasure talking to you and learning about your story. So we really want to thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Anytime. This was great.